As previously mentioned, since I don't speak the Polish, we're going to go ahead and try this one in English. This may be a bit expert mode for some of you. I'm sorry. My name is Trevor. I do work for a company called Contactio, and I'm here to speak to you a bit about inspiring solutions for the Internet of Things. Internet of Things, utopian future. Doesn't that look lovely? Let me tell you a bit about who I am so you know why I'm qualified to tell you something about this. Contact.io is a Polish company, one of several that's leading in the industry, making hardware for the Internet of Things. I've been working there for about 6 months now, so I can pretend I know what I'm doing, even if you really look closely, I probably don't. With that said, the Internet of Things, what is it? A lot of you guys here are thinking about startups or thinking about internet or thinking about business, so you have probably heard of the Internet of Things. In case you haven't, I will give you a brief summation of what it is. The Internet of Things is an idea, a concept of taking every single piece of real-world data, that door, that chair, the lights over here, the speakers, and connecting them all constantly to the internet. By taking everything and connecting it everywhere all the time, we will soon know everything, and the Internet of Things is kind of bullshit, actually. Because when I say the Internet of Things is everywhere and connects to everything and knows all of these things, it doesn't. Maybe eventually it will. But if you're thinking of making a startup happen in the IoT space, if you're thinking you want to do something that's incredible in technology, you need to acknowledge where we are now versus where we may be in the future. The Internet of Things is a very, very old problem. And it's a new term for solving a very old problem. Back in the 1630s, Daniel Waterhouse, the founder of MIT, tried to make a handwritten database of every single thing in the world. Obviously, he failed, but he tried. Since then, we've tried to come up with other new, different, crazy ways of letting computers have an ordered and regimented system to know everything. UPCs were invented in the 70s, and that was its time's solution for let's make sure a computer can know what everything is. So if the Internet of Things is largely bullshit, why are we so excited about it? What is it about IoT that makes people want to spend a whole lot of money, invent crazy new ideas, and try to come up with the next Google or next Apple? Well, by connecting items to computers, you solve two simple but very critical problems. Where something is and what it is. This is surprisingly difficult to know. A computer has no inherent ability to know whatever it's looking at, what that might be, and no inherent ability to know where it is. Once you can say, this chair is here in this hall, and there are students in this hall, and we know which of you guys are here, now we can do a bunch of things like see who's in attendance automatically with your smartphone, and then your professor can say, where were you last week? And you can be like, well, it was really important, I was out drinking, and I'm so sorry. So when I talk about Internet of Things, and I've mentioned there are technologies that have been used to try and solve this problem. Right now, there are a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to go into super detailed explanation because you aren't engineers and you don't care all that much. But if you're thinking about making a startup happen or thinking about business in this huge new space, there's a variety of ways you can solve the problem. You can try to make communication happen at a very, very short range, a couple of centimeters. You can try and make communication happen at a very, very long range, like your cell phone has with GPS, which is all the way out into space, and with cellular phone towers. The trade-offs you make in distance and in range, the trade-offs you make in accuracy and in transmission power, all these things determine what type of technology you'd want to use when you're using IoT in your business, whether it's UPC, QR codes, RFID, NFC, Bluetooth beacons, which I think are a pretty good solution to the problem, or whatever's next after that. All of these things are what's called intermediary solutions. We've gone from UPC in the 70s, and beacons is the hot new thing now, but there'll be more. So when I say IoT is bullshit, what I mean is the promises we're telling people now, where there will be millions of dollars and billions of dollars and trillions of dollars of business happening in this space, well, sure, eventually. But with the technology we have now, probably not. So the Internet of Things gives you the promise of connecting everything, everywhere, all the time. This is obviously valuable for computing. This is valuable for business. This is valuable for customer service. This is valuable for pretty much every single industry where money exchange hands in a place. But we're not there yet. So why, if that's the case, do you care about IoT? Why am I talking to you? Well, there's a lot of promise here. So if you're thinking about you want to pitch a startup or you want to make the next great thing, think about what IoT means. Think about what kind of solutions can be brought and let that inspire you to make something better. Let's think about a standard SWOT analysis, which I'm pretty sure everybody has seen more times than they care to, but we'll go through this one briefly. If you look at the strengths, IoT as a business is currently, well, it's hard to gauge. They're saying it's around $50 million right now, and by 2025 it's expected to be $3 trillion. That's a 60,000% growth. That's not a bad place to be. If you can get a tiny share of that growth, you'll be doing pretty well for yourself in your yacht in the Bahamas. There's a lot of buzz around the topic. There's many, many companies trying to figure out how to solve this problem, which means if you have a cool startup, you have many, many clients to try and sell your solutions to. But there are also weaknesses. As I mentioned, there's a million different ways to say, this item is in this place at this time to a computer. Who knows which one's going to win? And since you don't know which one is going to win, all the really big companies, Walmart, Kroger, Nestle, all these guys are very, very leery to invest in it because they know in 3 or 4 years something else will come along and that's the next great new thing. There's a trade-off for how you want to do IoT. Do you want to have a solution that requires no battery and no electricity? Great. Those work, but only at about 6 inches. So how do you try and make that a business model for you? And also, all the data that's being stored, no one really has one central warehouse for it. It would be like if there were 25 different internets right now and you had to put up a different program to access every single one. It's kind of crazy. Then there's threats. As computers get smarter, as AI gets smarter, and eventually, we all bow and submit to our Lord and Master Skynet, they will be able to identify locations and places and things without any IoT devices. So when you're thinking about doing proximity in your startup, consider in 5 years, maybe your solution won't matter. And also, there will probably be something cheaper than beacons, cheaper than RFID, cheaper than whatever is out right now in a couple years as well. So as you're thinking about, I want to make a business happen here, if you're thinking about that, and you should be, there's a lot of money there, think about what you do when that changes. But the opportunities are immense. And since we're supposed to be inspiring you to make good solutions, think about what you can do with the problem of, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of useful data. There's a lot of money floating around. There's a lot of ways people can solve knowing where something is and tell a computer that. But no one's found the perfect solution yet. If you can come up with a way to improve the links between technologies, or if you can think of a new way to connect things to computers, that's when you have the unlimited potential of IoT, which sounds like bullshit, and to some extent is, but if you're the one who solves that problem, that's when you get into the real money. So Internet of Things as a utopian future? No, we're not there yet. But if one of you guys here in this room, or someone in some other classroom somewhere, has that idea, comes up with that critical missing piece, whatever form it takes right now, whatever form IoT ends up being in 5 years from now, where we are right now is like the very first computers, the very first days of dial-up, 6-color monitors, and takes an hour and a half to boot the computer up. No one would think that back then, this would become more powerful than any processing device in the world, and everyone has them and uses them to Google pictures of cats on the internet. So be the smartphone 5 years from now for IoT. Be the device that makes cat pictures possible. That's what the real play for Internet of Things is. That's what you guys should be trying to solve, and that is my time. Thank you very much.